Sponsored by Noble McIntyre Law.
And welcome to another edition of The End Zone along with Cameron Johnson and Stone Weber. I am Colby Daniels. So we've been talking about the unofficial start to the football season. Football is officially underway now. Both the Sooners and Cowboys have had practices under their belt, local media days going on, and the season is full steam ahead. I know both of you guys were in Norman earlier this week for the local media day for the Oklahoma Sooners. Bunch of players available, bunch of coaches available, but I'm interested in the vibes. What was the vibe you guys got at in Norman as we get closer to this 2026 football season?
Very confident, I think. Not arrogant, but very confident. This team, I think everyone we heard from says the expectations, whatever they were last year, take them, raise them even higher. I think everyone knows where they came up short last year. Now they've made some really big adjustments in the offseason, and I think, like many of us, they're expecting big things.
They're expecting big things, and I think Brent Venables, there's a little bit of pressure on him, right? He's had multiple 10-win seasons, followed that up. The year after those seasons has not been good, but of course, the defense expected to be really good again, and the offense, of course, the biggest question going into this year, they've loaded up and brought in a lot of talent and some new coaches as well. Yeah,
I mean, there's been a lot of money spent on this roster, both within the coaching staff. You bring in a guy like Jason Witten, you bring in Dylan McCullough. Obviously, the transfer portal paid off in a big way, especially on the offensive side of the football, where they were desperate for offensive playmakers outside of Isaiah Satania. The entire tight end room has been turned over. And you have, I think, a lot of young guys that now are a little more seasoned, have a year under their belt. I don't know what it would take for this season to end in a disappointing way and people to feel like, you know what, there were some circumstances that maybe didn't go the Sooners' way. I think with everything that is lined up, I don't know if there are going to be any excuses for, anything but potentially matching what the Sooners did a year ago, which was a 10-win regular season in the SEC and a college football playoff appearance. Speaking of that offense, the big conversation this entire offseason has been dominated by the run game improvement. How can Oklahoma run the football better? Some of those changes we just discussed, that also involves tight ends, that involves offensive linemen. We had, I think, a mixture of players and coaches talking about that topic earlier this week.
Combination of a lot of things, right? The line's got to get them to the second level. Receivers got to block in the perimeter. Runners got to make somebody miss sometimes. Got to have good scheme. But the tight end's usually a big part of that. Is can you sustain that block? Can you get in position to hold on? It's a little bit longer when the ball gets to you.
I've never been a part of a tight end room that is so close. Like, we hang out all the time. There's no division in the room. And a lot of that has to do with, I think, bringing in guys like me and Rocky that have played for 5, in his case, 6 years. We know how to lead a room, and everyone's bought in.
I'm here to give my all into this. I'm here to give my whole heart into every single rep. Be it the indie, be it team, field goal, whatever it is, just going out there and I'm going to give my best. And I know that me doing that, spreads the energy to my guys that, we're here to be the best we can, in everything that we do.
I've been impressed by Lloyd. The whole room has been impressed by Lloyd. They got to do some good stuff, for all intents and purposes, the way we ended the spring, when we went out and we had a game tonight, Lloyd would go out there first.
Watching the spring, they're creating a lot of plays, and a lot of that is just the tight end room, O-line room, but again, just our room. We have a lot of talented guys. Coach DMC came in with a plan, and I really respect it. Just watching the stuff, watching the cut-ups, it's crazy. Y'all gonna see during the fall, but like me seeing every single day the reads and the outcomes of what he's teaching is really good stuff.
You got to love the buy-in from, I think, everybody representing the Crimson and Cream as far as the run game goes and just the improved offense overall. How about Dylan McCullough throwing out that if the season started today, Lloyd Avant, the Colorado State transfer, would be RB1. Now, there's still some time for that to change, but I think when he came in, he was probably the least heralded of the offensive playmakers that Oklahoma acquired via the transfer portal. But I mean, glowing reviews from the new running back coach.
I was surprised whenever he said that at first, because you'd expect that having Xavier Robinson back, Torrey Blaylock, I know they battled injuries all offseason, but you figure they might kind of slip in there early on. But then you think about everything, like he said about Lloyd Vaughn, it makes perfect sense. He says he's got a whole grading system and that he's a guy that consistently scores the highest, so to speak. So, I mean, if you're getting that kind of review from that kind of coach, I don't know why you wouldn't be excited.
Well, I just think it also goes to show that the fans and the media don't know as much as they think they know with Torrey Blaylock and Xavier Robinson. But it's very exciting, and I think you see young guys in there like Michael Fasusi and Torrey Blaylock. Blaylock especially acknowledging the run game changing and improving. It's not necessarily just on the guys in that room. It takes everyone on the offense. It takes the quarterback, it takes the tight ends, and it takes the offensive line as well. So a lot of maturity in that group, and Fasusi and Blaylock, for example, getting a ton of experience last year as freshmen, and now getting able to take them into this next year should be have a lot more experience under their belt and ready to go.
There's so many more question marks with the offense. That's why that topic has dominated the offseason. I do think there are some interesting storylines with the defense. You've got some new leadership within that group. You have some new playmakers. And I think one of the terms that Brent has used since he arrived here, competitive depth. I think going into the season, there probably isn't as much established competitive depth defensively as there was a year ago. But there's high expectations for what that group is going to do overall. You heard from players like Owen Heineke and Cole Sullivan talking about the competitive depth and just stepping into some new roles.
It's been a blessing to be in the locker room and be an older guy now and be able to contribute what little wisdom I have to some of the younger guys. But the mindset for me doesn't change whether I'm a returning starter or someone who's fighting for a spot. It's always the same. So I'm ready to get to work and build on the season and build on the team that we had last year. And I think everybody else shares that same mindset.
I think the mental side has definitely been my focus, especially coming into this defense that's so complex. That's probably been the most where my efforts has been most directed. So. Just trying to learn the game, learn the defense, and building these relationships around me on defense. So I can keep my teammates accountable, and they to keep me accountable as well. The volume of the playbook, there's just so much to it, and the detail. It goes so far in depth. So I came in thinking that I knew a little bit about football, but now looking back on it, I didn't know as much as I needed to. So
building that competitive depth with the young guys stepping up. My spot is secured. Stone's spot is secured. We see that with guys coming up, wanting to work, wanting to get better. They have a lot of chip on the shoulder, so they're ready to go.
Getting the competitive depth back. I think we had a lot of competitive depth last year, with Bo being the Bo coming in for me, or RJ, or Jaden Hardy, or Man coming in, and now he's right behind us, me and Bo, and then now we just need the freshmen to step up with him, like Markel and Nico, and those young guys. At every position, we just need to have those guys to be able to step up and make the plays when they're needed.
Gotta love Cole Sullivan, the Michigan transfer, coming in and being humbled immediately. I thought I knew football, but then I got in Brent Venables' room and it was a whole different level. I can only imagine what it's like to come in and learn something new under Brent Venables and just the, intensity and attention to detail.
Oh, yeah. You look across all of college football, and he's a defensive mastermind for a reason. If anything, he had to learn how to be a head coach after. But, if I'm an OU fan, what helps me sleep at night is that in these last few years, you look at Owen Heineke, Taylor Wine, these are guys who last year were not big names coming into the season. So even though you do make some big additions and have some big starters coming back, you always expect that there's going to be a surprise player or two that comes up and steps up. And a lot of the times it's the younger guys. So, there's a lot to feel good about on that side of the ball.
It's probably been a long time from when Oklahoma fans could say going into the season you have more confidence. The last couple of years, at least, continuously having more confidence in the defense than the offense. The late 2010s was difficult for Oklahoma on defense, but like we've talked about, Brent Venables has brought in a completely new mindset and DNA, and especially for Cole Sullivan, talk about that. Coming from a school like Michigan, who is known for playing tough, hard-nosed defense in the Big Ten, it's a credit to the system he's been able to build and ready to, he said the other day, they had led the SEC in 17 different defensive defensive category. So hoping to improve on that even more this season.
Pretty incredible. All right, that's it for the OU Local Media Day. The OSU Local Media Day is coming up on Saturday, but practice is underway in Stillwater. We've already heard from head coach Eric Morris. You'll hear from him next on The End Zone. Along with Cameron Johnson and Stone Weber, I am Colby Daniels. College football season is underway. Both the Sooners and Cowboys are currently practicing. Oklahoma State opened earlier this week. Their local media day is coming up this weekend, but Eric Morris met with the media following the Cowboys' first practice of this fall, and obviously you have to address the superstar quarterback, one of the Heisman favorites, Drew Mestemaker.
This is the first time I've had a starting quarterback back-to-back years since Cam Ward, I guess, and it's hard for me to think, but I guess going from Incarnate Word to Washington State, he stayed with us and knew the scheme, same coaches, all those things, although there was new people around him. And so super excited. I mean, obviously Drew is so far advanced in this offense and understanding what I like as a play caller. I mean, he's anticipating things so much faster. As his mind continues to slow down as he's out there, just because he processes information super fast. I think, really building off leadership qualities, and you saw some of that today. I mean, super vocal in the huddle, super vocal when a receiver split wasn't where it was supposed to be. And so he's been able to take charge and almost be a coach out there, as opposed to a receivers coach screaming across the field that we're lined up wrong. Drew sees it like that, and he's able to go and address that for us. And so, continues to grow in that. And then I think, just adjusting to the speed of the game at the P4 level is something that's going to be super important, right? I mean, there's a reason this is a higher level of football, and the guys are bigger, faster, stronger. The windows are going to be tighter. And so he's got to continue to anticipate the way that he has in the past.
Oklahoma obviously is a more known commodity from what they returned from a year ago going into this 2026 season. I'm just ready to watch an Oklahoma State actual football game, so I think can pinpoint maybe some areas where we're surprised, and in some ways you're kind of starting from nothing. So we have an idea of what some of the guys from UNT look like, but what do they look like on a bigger level? There's just the question marks are nearly across the board.
Yeah, and I think that's the benefit of, like Morris said, having a quarterback 2 years in a row, which, first of all, with Cam Ward is what happened the last time that happened. Yeah. I mean, that's an exciting notion. But, yeah, to have Mestemaker back, the question is, does it translate? It's going to be a different level of competition, but to already have that familiarity with playing in that system, so to speak, is definitely a comfort thing that I would expect helps him settle in a little bit more. But yeah, how far it goes, I don't know, but at least going into the season there is some familiarity. And that was something that Morris touched on immediately, was that that's the biggest question for people on the outside looking in. How does a group of five offense that nearly made the college football playoff, how does that transition to the Power 4 level? Of course, a tough game against Tulsa in week 1, and then Oregon in week 2. It's going to be a difficult start there for Oklahoma State, but I think if anything, it might not be getting back to a bowl game. It might not be the Big 12 championship, but certainly it's most likely going to be better than where you have been these last couple of seasons. And I think for Cowboys fans everywhere, that's a start. Yeah. If you have an average offensive line, I think you're good enough at the quarterback position and talented enough in the skill positions that offense is going to put numbers on the board. If the offensive line is really good, then look out, it might be one of the best offenses in the country. And then defensively, I think there are some big-time playmakers in all three levels. You just don't know, I think, to steal a Brent Venables word, what the competitive depth looks like. How deep are you outside of maybe 5 or 6 players that look like they could be all conference type of guys, and especially in your twos, are you in a place where if you sustain an injury, is that going to just collapse the entire defense? I'll be curious to hear, especially the offensive line talk coming up on Saturday, local media day, what the conversation there is like. But that's going to be a major part of their success coming up in this 2026 football season. All right, we got to take a timeout. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame has some new inductees, including an Oklahoma Sooner Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. We'll discuss it next right here on The End Zone. All right, welcome back to the show. Earlier this week, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame inducted some insanely great historical Oklahoma sports personalities and athletes, and I thought this was a really cool list. And Sam Bradford, obviously being a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, KJ Kindler, who I think is I'm not going to say gymnastics coach, one of the best collegiate coaches
in this country. And Matt Holliday, who you take for granted him being from Oklahoma and just what he accomplished in Major League Baseball. Stone Weber was there earlier in the week, and here's some sound from those 3 Oklahoma superstars.
To get that call and to hear that I was going to go into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, it's something that, I never dreamt of, and it's just quite an honor.
What an amazing evening. I'm so honored. And my whole family is here, my mom and dad, so just really excited to be with this amazing class and so impressed that I was selected to join them.
Sometimes it makes you feel old, that you're in Hall of Fame. I went to the Cardinals Hall of Fame and now this, so it's exciting. I mean, like I said, to be recognized in a state that's put out a ton of great athletes and great sports people, to be one of them is pretty cool.
I remember Matt Holliday quarterbacking the Stillwater Pioneers years ago, and to think like at that point he was such a big football prospect that he was going to go on to be the incredible baseball player he was. And obviously he was a great baseball player at that point too, but I think a lot of people had expectations for what he could be as a quarterback. And then speaking of the quarterback, I mean, Sam Bradford, one of the all-time greats in Norman.
Yeah, I mean, what a night, and what a talented list of people to have out there, especially KJ Kindler. A lot of people talked about it. Probably one of, if not the most accomplished people in that room to make it. Got maybe, depending on who you talk to, one of the best dynasties going on in college sports right now.
Right.
8 national championships in the last 20 years. Really improbable.
It's such a perspective setter reminder that you look across the entire landscape of athletics, and Oklahoma is not typically a state that would jump out at you in terms of that, but it's just a reminder of some of the just legendary talent that has come out of this state or played in this state, and it gives that recognition that on a state that I think, like I said, just goes under the radar a lot. But yeah, I mean, so many special, it's not just like good coaches or former athletes. Those, like you said, those are some of the most like iconic streaks going on right now. It's just really cool to see.
Pretty amazing. Real quick before we wrap up, I was at the PBR last week, which was in Oklahoma City at the Paycom Center, and this was such an incredible event. I've been many times, but never to the team event, which if you've never been, each team gets 5 riders. You have to ride the bull for 8 seconds to even get a score, and then what your score is obviously goes toward the team total. The Oklahoma Wildcatters won on a walk-off ride on Sunday. Their final rider had to go 8 seconds to even qualify, and then his score had to be 86 or higher, and he got an 89 last ride of the day, walk-off win, which was incredible, and we're seeing it here. And he's an Oklahoman, Case Hitt, who rode the bull. It was an absolute scene, and to be right there, the bulls are throwing dirt all over you. I mean, it was awesome, and if anybody ever has the chance, make sure you take advantage of the PBR being in the state of Oklahoma. All right, the closing argument is coming up next right here on The End Zone. And welcome back one final time as we wrap up the show with Noble McIntyre. It is time for the closing argument. The college football season is here. Both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State have begun fall practice. Right. I know we will be attending games, quicker than any of us can anticipate. Unfortunately, not quick enough. This is that time of year, though, that we're all kind of getting ready and looking at the season. And I have really enjoyed the last couple seasons, especially since Oklahoma has joined the SEC, having some of these new matchups, some of these new road trips for the Sooners to travel to. So as we get ready for the season, I want to kind of pose 2 questions to you. First, what are the best venues you have attended in college football? And what's, I guess, on the bucket list or the wish list in terms of where you would like to see a college football game?
That's a good question. I've been to some good ones. I've been to Tennessee, which was an amazing experience.
Amazing.
I was there when Baker planted the flag at Ohio State. I've been to the Rose Bowl when we played Georgia. So those have been some great ones. The ones I've missed out on, I really plan to and want to go to the OU Army game at Army. I've heard that stadium's pretty amazing. That was canceled, I believe, because of COVID. And then I've never been to an A&M game, Texas A&M game, where the whole stadium sways with the 12th man. And so I'd like to go there as well. I was supposed to go to Alabama last year. It didn't work out. So I'll get out to there eventually. But what about you?
Tennessee, I think last year it was a night game, the blackout. I mean, it was probably at the top of my list. I was also at the Baker flag plant game in Columbus. That was amazing. Ann Arbor, Michigan is also as good as it gets, and I'm excited for the OU fans that are traveling week 2 for that matchup to get an opportunity to see the game day experience at Michigan. My bucket list probably is LSU. I didn't get the chance to go to the LSU game a couple years ago, but Tennessee is right there at the top along with Michigan, and there's Florida in Gainesville also. I hear good things about, and OU's going to have a chance to go to Florida this year.
Well, I'm headed to the Michigan game. The thing about LSU is this great stadium, great environment. The fans aren't very nice. So you're going to have to prepare yourself for that.
Yes. Well, to your point about A&M, some people would say you have to drink the Kool-Aid and join the cult if you go down there. So maybe that prevents you from heading to College Station. Let us know what your bucket list college football venues would be. That is it for this week's edition of The Closing Argument, along with Noble McIntyre. I am Colby Daniels. We'll see you next week.